Warp Core Breach, Episode 31, The Plague.
Captain, enemy ships decloaking off our port bow.
They're charging weapons!
Shields up, red alert!
They're firing!
Containment failure detected. Warp core breach imminent.
Welcome to Warp Core Breach, Episode 31. On this episode, Nick and David preview the Wrath of Khan Reliant Prize PACK. Griffin says, "Long live the Empire." Dan offers insight into the Wrath of Khan. The faction report puts on a fridge suit and starts a ketracel white IV drip. Joe offers a building challenge. And finally, we all remember that this is a game of luck. No, skill. No, it's luck. Yeah, definitely luck. With our luckiest moments.
Warning. Warp core breach detected.
I'm David Montgomery, and here's my co-host, the Dabo to my Tongo.
The first Dobbo boy! Ha ha ha!
Confront.
Retreat.
Extort.
Exterminate. Oh, wait.
Wrong franchise.
Guilty.
Howdy, folks. We're back. We're still physically sick, trying to get better. Hopefully by the time this goes to air, I'll actually be feeling better.
Here's hoping, buddy.
Crossing my fingers. I almost said crossing me fingers. That makes me a bit Irish.
Oh, crossing me fingers. They're after me lucky Star Trek charms.
Yeah. I think WizKids got those in the divorce.
Ooh.
Anyways. Yeah, so because Nick and I are both a little bit under the weather, shorter episode from us, but we've got a ton of contributor segments today. So we're just here to preview the Reliant Prize PACK. Because it's out, it's new, it's fresh, it's fun. Well, fun is maybe yet to be determined, but...
Hey, it can be fun if you make it fun.
Yeah. So why don't we dive right in and see what's there, Nick?
First up on our Wrath of Khan review is the USS Reliant, Independent Edition.
Ooh.
Miranda-class vessel, unique, 20 points. 2-2-3-3 for stats, all familiar. 2 weapon slots and 2 crew slots. With evade, target lock, scan, and battle station for our standard Federation array of ship actions. The ship ability goes, when attacking with your primary weapon, during the modify attack dice step, you may disable any number of your active shields to re-roll a number of your attack dice equal to the number of shields you disabled. So, with this one here, it's a ship that doesn't have much to begin with, but if you're in a pinch, you're down to the last, you are grappling, and you need that extra little bit of oomph to take out your enemy, why not? You know, throw away some shields temporarily just to get some rerolls in, hopefully to get an extra kill shot or 2. You know, if you're only firing 2 dice, maybe 3 if you're in range 1, and that's assuming you don't have any modifications on it, you don't really have to disable that much in the first place. But it all depends on how you're playing. But yeah, this is like a last-ditch effort, short of going for some tech shenanigans, which there are no tech slots on this ship. So, short of adding some tech slots, you're just at your base level of 2-2-3-3. 3 shields, and only 2 dice to throw damage with.
Well, what this pack does well is that it gives you some cards that let you roll extra dice.
Yes.
So that much is nice. And, you know, the biggest thing we always complain about is taking an action or doing things that just get you extra dice without any quality is terrible. So at least here's a little bit of built-in quality, and if you take battle stations as an action, now you're only re-rolling your blanks. Better if you take the con from the Federation Reliant pack, where those battle station become crits. That's even better.
Right.
I still don't love the ability, though, because 3 shields, you're cutting your durability way down. And if you do it on a high captain skill, now you're worried about getting shot. If you do it on a low captain skill, you may get shot and have no shields.
Right, so the only time you can count on it is if you've got a high captain skill and likely shooting first. But then you better make darn sure that you're not going to get shot at by anybody else, hopefully once you've taken out your immediate enemy.
The best thing I can think to do with this is figure out how to get a tech slot on here.
Yeah.
Put improved deflector screens on this ship, because it can take it.
Mm-hmm.
And then always disable one shield. That way your improved deflector screens will never go away.
Exactly. It may not always work for you, but you won't be forced to discard it.
Yeah, now it'll go away if your ship goes boom. But, minor details there, right?
But what if the improved deflector ray is just left floating? The ship's gone, but that's there.
But that's a minor victory.
Attached to a phaser power cell.
Probably the Type 8 phasers.
Yeah, most likely.
Yeah, so you've got improved deflector screens and a Type 8 phaser ray floating in space, and that's all you
Can't
got.
touch this. Dun-na-na-na, dun-na-na-na.
Oh, probably with the enhanced hull plating.
Right.
Actually, enhanced hull plating might be better on this ship, but...
Yeah, because then you can make use of the rerolls and then put yourself in a no-shield situation where you can use the extra defense.
Yeah.
So getting a tech slot on there for the enhanced hull plating and your aces.
Yeah.
But
you don't even care about the lack of actions because you've got a built-in reroll.
Right.
So, I'm actually kind of coming around on this ship. It's not into my love it category. I still think I like the Fed Reliant better.
Or you can get a 4 attack dice at range 1.
Yeah, and it's Fed, so it's cheaper to get a lot of good upgrades on it.
Right, but let's also keep in mind, part of the draw to the Independent Reliant is for those that play Faction Pure, or even just want to play thematic, where the Reliant and Con can actually go together as, they figure they should be intended to.
Yeah? You know what I really want for thematic purposes?
What's that?
A dual faction Reliant.
Oh, wouldn't that be something?
It would probably be a little too much to ask, but...
Dream card.
Yeah. And it'll probably never happen.
But that's okay, because in my little virtual world inside my mind, I get everything that I want. Until I open my eyes.
Well, speaking of Con, we have a new Captain Con. And this now completes the gamut of 6, 7, 8 Con. So, Captain Skill 7, 4 points, unique of course, with a talent slot. Would have liked to have seen a 2-talent Con.
Well, I think he'll make up for that.
Yeah. You may use any upgrades without paying a faction penalty. I like that already.
Yep.
Up to 3 of the upgrades you purchase for your ship cost exactly 4 SP each.
Nice.
And are placed face down beside your ship card. Each upgrade remains face down until you decide to use it, and then it is turned face up for the rest of the game. The printed cost on these upgrades cannot be greater than 6.
That's pretty amazing ability.
Yeah. It really, really is. It's Kirk with talents, but better.
Yes.
Because now, you want projected stasis field? Great, it costs you 4 points. You want multi-adaptive shields? Great, 4 points. You want enhanced hull plating? Great, it's 4 points, but now your opponent doesn't know that you have it.
Mm-hmm.
It was already 4 points, but... It's a discount. It's not a great discount, but there's some cards that cost 6. Some talents now that are 6.
Don't forget, out-of-faction cards that would have cost 7 still apply, as long as they're printed no more than 6.
Right, because he ignores their faction penalties.
So that's an additional discount, so potentially saving up to 3 points per card.
Yes.
But keep in mind, folks, if you do put a certain number of upgrades on your ship, then you could potentially have cheaper ones at that point. But that's where the up to 3 kicks in, and says that you don't have to make 3 of your upgrades as hidden. But if you want them to be hidden, they must cost exactly 4. So if you've got some shenanigans with a 2-point tech or something that you want to throw in there, but you want it hidden, you are going to have to pay 4 points to do that.
Yeah, I think we're getting to the point now where you can basically hide almost everything. You can take Quark, cryogenic stasis, and Con, and have an almost completely hidden ship.
Cloak the contents of your ship, folks. I like it.
I find that amusing.
That gets closer to the way I'd like to play normally. And you just reveal cards as you use them.
I could see that.
The only problem with that style of play is it gets a bit tricky on how to finagle it without like a screen to block your cards from the other player. So I understand why there's no fog of war in the game, because it just makes things too complicated overall.
Yeah.
Constantly having to look and peek and flip at your cards all the time, it would really lag the game. There's already time pressure on it as is.
That it would.
But for a casual game, it'd be kind of nice to have a fog of war.
I would find that very intriguing. So.
Indeed.
So yeah, that's Con. I like Con. I still think that Gen Con is probably my go-to, but this has definitely given me another reason to consider taking a version of Con.
Mm-hmm.
I like what they're doing with giving me tough choices with certain characters.
Yes. And I will say that they definitely dodged a bullet by not including the even if it exceeds restrictions, because that would make this a broken card. That would allow you to be putting all those cards that have faction restrictions or ship type restrictions or anything. You could put like a Blade of Hull Armor or Transphasics on the same ship as Khan with something like that. So not including that line is excellent. Whether it was intentional or not, I'm actually glad it's not there. As fun as it might be. Yikes.
Yeah, I mean, now they could have done the same thing they did with Quark, non-Borg, and then ignore slots. But it makes sense that Khan doesn't bring his own slots.
Right.
He just uses what's there.
Know when to hold them, know when to fold them. Know when to walk away, know when to boom.
There we go. Hey, speaking of things that Khan brings with him, Nick, why don't you tell us about the SETI eel?
Ah, the SETI eel. A native of SETI Alpha 5. This wee critter is quite nasty. For those of you that have seen the movie, it can take control of the mind of the person it is implanted into by making them very suggestive. So, this card is very thematic to what it does in the show. And here's why. SETI Eel. Independent, 6 cost, elite talent, unique. During the combat phase, you may discard this card to target a ship within range 1 to 3 when it is that ship's turn to attack, and force that ship to either 1. Attack any ship of your choice in its firing arc and within range, if possible, or 2. Not perform its attack and disable its captain card, or 3. Perform its attack as normal and discard the captain card. Target ship must choose one of those options. So just like in the movie, when you have Captain Terrell under the guidance of Khan and the SETI Eel, he had to decide whether to obey the order or to attack and kill himself or a friend. This one here gives your opponent a choice. None of them are good. So, with the 3 options you're giving your opponent, none of them good, they must sacrifice something. The first option is they can attack any ship, so it's going to be a ship you choose. It could be one of their ships. It could even be one of your ships that you want them to attack for a special reason, feedback pulse or something. Second option, it forgoes its attack altogether, disabling the captain card. So basically just buying yourself some time there. Or you can toss your captain card altogether and attack as normal, so you can just do things the way you wish. But losing your captain can be quite painful. So it really depends on how it all shakes out.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think how I'd react when I'm faced with the SETI eel.
How many worms do you see?
Yeah. Oh, don't even ask me what to do when there's Goma Dread and a SETI eel in the mix.
Admiral Madred, Captain Khan, and a SETI eel? Mm-hmm.
Well, so that brings up the thing. This specifically says Captain Card. So if Madred's already killed the captain, you just say, oh, I'm choosing option 3, because there's nothing for me to discard.
Yeah, because while in a sense you technically have a captain card, it's just a virtual, 0 cost 1 skill. You just discard that one. But having the eel and the Madred factors, you can take out 2 captains.
Right.
Or you can just make darn sure it happens.
You have to decide what's going to hurt you the least.
Mm-hmm.
So the trick is always going to be, which ship do they do? How many dice are you going to roll against it? Things like that.
Lesser of the 3 evils.
Right. Sometimes letting them pick which ship you're attacking is going to be the least bad option. But sometimes not attacking and disabling your captain is going to be the least bad option. And sometimes attacking anyways and saying my captain's gone is going to be the least bad option.
Yeah, especially if you're going to kill.
Yeah. I'm not saying best option. I'm saying least bad intentionally.
Mm-hmm.
None of them are good. But that's what a 6-point card should be.
Yeah, that's pretty scary, and that does seem worthy of the 6 points. It's like, if you're going to go down, and you're going to throw the SETI eel at the guy who's going to shoot at you, it's a good way to make him pay. So either he's going to give you another chance to live, or he's going to take you down, but he's going to get hurt in the process. That's one way I see it. To the last, I will grapple with thee.
Mm-hmm. So, SETI eel, definitely a scary card, and one that I don't know that I'm glad is in the game, but it's thematic as all get out, and it presents a lot of strategic options.
Mm-hmm. This is one that I would really have rather seen in a retail pack, given its potential and its power and its possibility.
Yeah.
Having it as a prize pack is definitely something that's going to make it a highly sought-after piece for those that like that style of play. But fortunately, it's not the style of everyone, so it's not going to be everybody clamoring for it. So the game's still going to have its theme and its flavor. It's not like back in the days of the tactical station where, if you play Fed, you're going to just soak them up and you're just going to rule the game because you're going to do so much damage. And then, ruled, cleaned up, thank you.
Right. All right, so moving on to a less exciting talent. Fire! Yes, that kind of fire. It's also a 6-point unique independent talent. When attacking with your primary weapon during the roll attack dice step, you may discard this card to gain +2 attack dice. If you do so during the modify attack dice step, you may re-roll up to 2 of your attack dice, and then place an auxiliary power token beside your ship. Now, before we talk about that, there's another card in this pack. It's the weapon. It's a 5-point weapon. It's non-unique. All power to phasers. It has the exact same first 3 lines. Up to, you may discard this card to gain +2 attack dice. Except, after that it says, if you do this, you must disable all of your remaining shields.
Sounds counter to the ship ability, doesn't it? Although, even if you have no remaining shields, it still works.
That's why that card is actually good. So,
yes!
All power to phasers, good late game card because you disable no shields, none is still all remaining. So from that standpoint, yeah, it's there. I don't know that it's 5 points good, but yeah, whatever.
Yeah. Hey, with Sakana, it's not that bad.
I mean, 3 points, but
hey, if you got the ability to, say, reroll 2 attack dice, might be handy.
Except you don't, because all of your shields are disabled. I mean, I guess if you have a target lock.
Hey, you can always put it on like an NX or something like that, or a Zindi Weapon Zero, or any other ship that starts with no shields.
True.
Enhanced hull plating. It has its uses. It's one more way to get another couple attack dice thrown in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with fire, 2 extra dice, being able to reroll 2, then taking an Ox.
Heavy cost.
Heavy cost. That's my biggest problem with this card. It costs 6 points.
Yeah. If that was like a 3 or a 4 or something, it'd be more palatable. But even with that Ox, I'd almost want it to be like a 2 or a 3.
Con makes it a 4.
Yep.
But even then, I sit there and I question.
To me, 3 is the sweet spot cost for this. 2 for the 2 attack dice, 2 for the 2 reroll, -1 for the Ox. Ignore the discard factor.
Yeah, discard because you just don't want that existing multiple times.
Exactly.
Because no matter what you do with time tokens or with disable, somebody would figure out a way to...
Abuse it.
Yeah, use and abuse it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so... Look, I'm glad that there's some neat cards that get us multiple attack dice, and I'm glad that they're not simple to use, because otherwise everyone would be using them. See last episode when we were talking about Type 8 and upgraded phasers.
Yeah.
And even tactical stations. Alright, we got one more card in this pack. You want to bring us home, Nick?
Khan's right-hand man, Joachim. 5-point independent unique crew. Action. Discard this card to add +3 to your captain skill number until the end phase of this round. If you attack first in the combat phase as a result of this, during the compare result step, you may convert one of your hits into a crit result. For 5 points, action, discard, there are better cards. Is it Pegasus Riker?
For 2 points, action, discard, there are better cards.
Oh, absolutely. But like Mirror Garrick, Fed Garrick, there's so many different and better ways to boost your captain skill that doesn't cost you an action, discard, and 5 points. Sure, yeah, it gives you the convert a hit to a crit, but it's really not that awesome. Especially for the crew slot and the cost.
If they had said, this crit cannot be cancelled,
that would be something.
That might start to be worth it.
Or that one crit goes through shields or something.
Yeah. That crit does hull damage.
Mm-hmm. Or even just that hit goes to hull. Even if it's not a crit. Even just getting a hit to hull.
Right. Forget the conversion. Just the hit. I mean, again, now we're spending our action. We're only making our captain +3 skill, which does not guarantee firing first.
Mm-hmm.
This is the same problem we have with the Romulan commander.
Yeah.
Skill 10 does not guarantee firing first. There's, again, no guarantee that I roll a hit.
Mm-hmm. Especially if you're only rolling a couple of dice.
If I spend my action on this, and then I have a terrible roll, I wasted a 5-point card.
Absolutely. And an attack.
Yeah.
Where you might have been better off just waiting, surviving a volley or a salvo, and then having a battle station convertible or target lock convertible attack roll.
This card should not be an action.
No, straight discard for one. If not a static ability.
Yeah, it should be a...
Here, I got it. Static ability of the +3 to an independent captain, or something to that effect.
Or even con specifically.
Yeah, con specifically would be great. And then you can either disable or discard him for the conversion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
Like disable to do a single battle station into a hit, discard to turn a hit into a crit. Or something like that. Yeah.
Or even discard to do a battle station to a crit.
There you go.
Or blank to crit. or something like that.
I like the hit to crit concept because it goes along with the old independent Reliant con.
Sure.
Because he's already converting battle stations into crits. Why not convert another hit into a crit? So that's one area that this Joaquin works well with the other con.
Yeah.
Yeah. Though granted, the other Joaquin, every crit you get to choose between 2 cards. Way nicer ability.
Yeah. And that card is only 4 cost.
Exactly.
Yeah. So for the same name, this is fundamentally worse in every aspect.
I've got one word why there is no balance to the Force. Midichlorians.
Okay. But we're not leaving you on that low note. We are going to talk about general orders. It is the 5-point resource that you get for showing up.
Oh yeah. Bring it on.
So at the start of the game, you get 5 battle station tokens.
Ooh.
During the activation phase, if a ship in your fleet is within range 1 to 3 and in the firing arc, forward or rear, of an opposing ship after the opposing ship ends its move, you may immediately remove 1 battle station token from this card and place it beside your ship, even if you already have a battle station token.
Note it doesn't say as an action or free action or anything. It's just placed.
It's just place, and it doesn't even say limit of once per round or once per ship. Now, it's 1 time per enemy ship movement.
Mm-hmm. So you can only do it after an opposing ship finishes their move within range 1 to 3 of you and with their firing arc, front or rear, pointed at you.
Yeah.
So you've got a lot of options within there. But hey, if it works out just so, you can use this a lot.
Although, I'm wondering if the may ruling actually kicks on this. Because it says you may choose to immediately remove 1 battle station
it doesn't
token.
say when attacking or when defending or anything like that. You're right. Yeah.
Okay, well...
Not the Eureka we were hoping for.
This is one for Worf. Anyways, this is still cool because it gives battle stations to ships that either don't normally get battle stations or it gives you double battle stations.
Yes, regardless of how that plays out, this is still an awesome resource. And hey, you get it for the low price of showing up and paying your entry fee for the OP.
Now you say awesome. I say middling resource. I have one word why I'm not hyped about this. Borg.
Oh yeah, I knew this was coming.
Because this doesn't work if your opponent is flying Borg.
Or doesn't have a forward or rear arc. So if they've got a 360, whether it's Borg or Deep Space Nine...
Although Deep Space Nine pylons might count as forward firing arcs.
Yeah, technically those do.
So, but yeah, Borg, you got nothing. Now, Borg are a little out of favor right now, but things can change.
Mm-hmm. I still see Borg ships. They're usually the assimilated ships or the scouts. But,
yeah. Well, even the scout.
Yep. The scout would not be affected by this.
So, I like that side of it.
Yeah.
Look, this isn't me hating on it. This is me cautioning people, because everybody's talking about, oh wow, this is the most amazing resource. Hold on a second.
No, I didn't say the most awesome. It's just awesome because it's battle stations.
Yeah, I'm just saying nobody's going, wait a second, hold on, it doesn't work against Borg.
I did see some people bring that up, so, yeah.
I didn't, but that's my lack of paying full attention to everything.
Well, we also have, we have our crossover circles, and then we have our other circles as well. Like, I'm a member of a number of different chat rooms and other groups where we talk about Attack Wing, and this had come up, that particular point, in a couple places, and I actually brought it up in one of them. So,
okay.
Yeah.
I didn't see it in the main community, which is why it was worth mentioning.
Absolutely. It could be mentioned everywhere, but if it's not mentioned here, we're not doing our jobs.
Yep.
Hey, the more you know. You know what they say? Knowing is half the battle.
G.I. Joe? So that's general orders. That's the entire Reliant pack. I'm more impressed with this than anything else that WizKids has put out lately.
Mm-hmm.
It's better than the Constitution. It's better than the Temet. It's better than Wave 23.
The thing I like about this, especially over the last number of OP prizes, is for one, it doesn't feel as limited for content. Like, it doesn't have tech. Whatever. It's still got 2 talents. It's got the weapons. It's got a crew. It's got the captain and the ship. You've got some variety there. And the majority of it is very thematic. While being thematic, it still has some function within the game. So it can cater a bit to both sides. Granted, nothing here is overpowered or, oh my god, wow, I have to get it now and I'm gonna kill you all with it. But
SETI eel?
It's pretty good. It's not earth-shattering. It's not like it's gonna create a Genesis planet out of this. But it's something that can make people think. It can create some new possibilities. And hey, Khan's ability to hide cards, that's actually a pretty sound tactic. If the enemy doesn't know what you're bringing, he might have to think twice, maybe even 3 times before engaging you.
It's definitely going to be interesting the first time everyone plays against Khan and goes, okay, how do I handle this?
Yeah, it's going to make people think more.
Well, and the key to remember is, when something's face down, you can't mess with it.
Nope, you can't target it. It can't do anything. Like, it's ineffectual, or it's effectually disabled. Its abilities cannot be affected or effective. But as soon as you want to pull it out, say, ha, I'm going to use this, full force. Surprise.
Yeah. Now, you can get rid of the source.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, I don't think that Khan is actually the one controlling those resources. So, for instance, if you used Go Madred against Khan, I don't think that those hidden upgrades would go away with Khan.
No, nor would they be revealed either. Because it doesn't say, if this card is removed, reveal those cards. They're placed face down. Their state is caused during, fleet build and initial placement. So even if Khan is stricken from the board, removed from the game, the effect is still there. Unlike Quark, who is actually holding onto or housing that other upgrade, or cryogenic stasis. You remove those cards, you discard those or get rid of them in any way. If those other cards have not been revealed yet, they're gone too.
Right.
They're being carried by those other cards. Here is not the case. He's just basically putting casting a spell on them, so to speak. It's like, here you go.
It's a really interesting interaction.
Kind of makes me think of Han Solo and his hidden cargo. Sorry for all the Star Wars references, but I can't help it.
So, before we toss it over to the contributors, Nick, anything new in Star Trek with you?
Well, we had an awesome Doomsday Machine OP last Wednesday. We had 6 people come in to play. We had all our tables lined up, had my 3D printed Doomsday Machine tokens and ships on the table. Everybody was excited with all that. We had one for each table, and it was quite the few rounds. It's like sometimes they couldn't destroy it, no matter how hard they tried. Other times they ignored it, and other times they obliterated it with ease. So there was quite a lot of variation in there. It was really interesting to see so much difference between player and round and round. I think everybody had a great time. I sure did. And I was just watching and filling my TO role.
Awesome.
Yeah. How about you? Anything exciting?
No, just starting to work on ideas for Wrath of Khan OP, and not too much that I want to spoil there and give my venue time to adapt.
Yeah. As my Uncle Bruce always called it, it's the Wrath of Rach.
Yeah.
He always had a way with words.
Or non-words, as the case may be.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little slow right now, but no, we're still having fun. Still doing what I can do. This cold's just knocked me on my butt, and editing a lot, but not able to record anything. So new content is sadly slow.
Aw, you're doing your best, man. We appreciate it.
Yes. So I think with that, we'll toss it over to our contributors and let them take care of things.
And expand on Wrath of Khan a little, and then some.
Hi, this is Dave Griffin. We're talking today about the mission Long Live the Empire. It comes with the IKS Ningtao and replicates the DS9 Once More Into the Breach episode. On the Klingon side, we have 50 points, one and only one Burrell with Kor as its captain, presumably either one. On the Dominion, 100 SP, but the rules essentially amount to 4 bugs, given the hull restrictions, and none of the bugs can be any more than 25 SP each, so 4 very lightly modified bugs. There's a planet in the center, and the Dominion start on the north, and the Klingons start on the south. Now, the special rules is where this exercise gets difficult. When the Klingon damages, it just says damages, presumably that means hull or shields, Dominion ship, you place a mission token on the damaged ship's cards. If you destroy the ship, the mission token's transfer to one of the other ships. It doesn't really matter which one. The Klingon ship is immune to Aux tokens, so whenever it should normally take an Aux token, you don't. And the Klingon gets 2 extra evade die. Now the objectives, the Klingon's objective is to get 4 mission tokens on the Dominion ship cards, so essentially damage them 4 times. On the Dominion side, it's to destroy the Klingon before he gets those 4 mission tokens on the cards. The reason this is a difficult scenario is because it replicates the early days of cloaking. With 4 die for cloak and 1 for the ship, the Burrell is already, a bit difficult to hit, although, of course, no matter how many green die you have, you can always roll badly. Now, this scenario gives it an extra 2, so 7 die and 8 at range 3. And even without quality, that's a lot of green die to roll. And the Dominions only have 3 attack die, and with the lightly modified nature of their ships, the only time you're ever going to get any damage through the Burrell is going to be if you, on the Dominion side, roll exceptionally well, and on the Klingon side, they roll exceptionally badly. That's not going to happen all that often. Of course, the Burrell only has 3 hit points, but even so, it's going to be very frustrating for the Dominion player. When we played it, I played the Klingon first, and I chose the Chitang and Young Corps. I used the advanced weapon system to give me a little bit more in terms of inability of them to lock onto my ship. And I also took Drex and Sinon. Sinon gave me some interesting ability to move, so it's not quite what the old Indy Fed fleet captain was, but it was pretty good. Now, from the Dominion side, you only have 3 to 5 points to modify the ships. Now, the ships themselves, you can take the generic ones and you only lose a shield. The perks are not that useful. But there are some possibilities for the Dominion. You could conceivably go cross-faction and take Type 8 phasers, or you could take the dorsal phaser array. That would give you more shots, which would be welcome. There are a couple of low-priced captains which are interesting, Gul Jasad and Gul Maset. And if you take the base model, you can take Gul Dukat if you want to. I would say this is balanced against the Dominion, at least 60-40. So if you do this as the Dominion player, prepare to be a little bit frustrated. You might want to go to torpedoes, because even if they're not normally worth taking, at least it means that if you roll those 5 dice and you actually roll well, you have a good chance to hurt the Klingon. Now, one thing we did, which I wouldn't recommend, is use the damage control team resource. I saw immediately when I was using the Klingons that a card that allowed you to absorb hits for Aux tokens when you couldn't take Aux tokens was a pretty compelling idea. So that was almost too powerful. So I'd recommend not taking that. Now, normally I do like to take resources in missions. My friend Dave Montgomery doesn't like that idea, and I think he's right in this mission. You're probably better off not taking resources on either side, really. Well, I would rate this at 3 stars. It is a fun scenario. You just have to be careful to give the Dominions a chance, and it's definitely going to be a race. In our 2 games, one of them was close, one of them was a little less close. I recommend giving it a try. Thanks, and I'll see you next week.
Good evening, and welcome to the Faction Report, the segment that brings you the inside scoop on all the factions. We'll show you how they really work, expose their weaknesses, find innovative combinations, and help you make them work better. And now here's your host, the man who is not Picard, David Walton.
Hi everyone, I'm not Picard, and this is another look at the Dominion and at what kind of defining things and defining features the Dominion faction has. Last time I started out speaking about the Dominion and then spent the entire segment talking about the Cardassians. So today I wanted to try and have a look at other things that the Dominion can do. One of the, I think, standout ships for the Dominion is the Jem'Hadar battle cruiser. Not so much the battleship. Battleship has a number of problems. The battle cruiser, I think, has a better dial. The stats aren't that much reduced from the battleship, so I think it's still good. And it's also a Jem'Hadar ship, which means you get access to quite a lot of the Jem'Hadar crew. You can actually load the Jem'Hadar battleship up as a defensive ship, bizarrely, because you could put a Matigan, who gives you that +1 evade. The name ship ability gives you an extra evade if you've got a Jem'Hadar bug ship, Jem'Hadar attack ship nearby. So that gives you those. It will give you 3 evade dice. I mean, green dice are notoriously fickle as far as how much damage they allow to get through to your ship. But if you wanted to go down that route, you could do. Actually, the combination I really like is a card called Ikatika. I probably got the pronunciation really wrong. Now, Ikatika is a 5-point card. He would be 10 points if he was taken on a non-Jem'Hadar ship, and 11 points if he was taken out of faction. Ikatika is a 5-point discard, and that, I mean, immediately you say 5-point discard, a lot of people go, whoa, not going to use that. But he is a 5-point discard that allows you to force your opponent to re-roll any number of their attack dice. And that would feel like, yeah, okay, fair enough. That's one time. It might save you from your opponent's attack, it might not. But what I like about him, and the reason I think he fits particularly well into Dominion, is that he combines well with 2 cards. The first one is Weyoun 6 from the 3rd Wing Patrol Ship expansion. Weyoun 6 is disable Weyoun to save one of your crew cards from being a discard, which is, really useful, really nice. That means you can use that defensive tech and that defensive upgrade again and again and again if you want to. And the other thing I like about him is that he combines well with Shroud. Shroud was a 1-point Dominion tech. I've gone on record before as saying it's my favourite 1-point card in the game. If you wanted to, you could use Shrouds as long as you have them, and then after you've used all your Shrouds, you could potentially start using Weyoun to save the card. So I think that's a useful upgrade for him. But to be honest with you, what I think is the absolute best Jem'Hadar card in the game, and the kind of the defining card for me in the Jem'Hadar, is Ramataclan. Now, Ramataclan is a discard. It says that if you are in the forward firing arc of 2 enemy ships, then you discard the card to get +2 on to your captain skill and +2 to all of your attacks that turn. again, this is a card that works really well with Shroud, really well with Wound 6, and it allows you to have quite a lot of extra punch. One of my favourite uses for this card was on a Breen ship, where you've got the energy dissipator. So you use the energy dissipator, you get the 2 extra dice on that, which means you're energy dissipating with 5 dice, and then after having done that, you then fire with your primary weapon, which gets 2 extra dice. Breen ship usually only has 3 dice. With Rematiclan, it has 5 dice, which is a lot more devastating, particularly when you've taken their shields down. So that's an ability I really like as well, and that Rematiclan works really well within the Dominion faction with ships like the Coronac, which allows you to spend a scan token to attack more than one ship in your forward firing arc, or forwards weapons grid, which does essentially the same thing. But yeah, some Dominion cards I really rate and are really worth checking out: a Katakar, Rematiclan, a Matigan, Shroud, and Wound 6. There are some Breen cards as well. The obvious one is Energy Dissipator, but I don't think there are enough Breen ships in the game at the moment really to warrant having another section entirely on Breen on their own. But certainly I think the Dominion, if you listen to this section and you listen to my section on the last show, or the last time my section was on the show, there are quite a lot of cards in Dominion that they can be run in a fleet pure environment without too much struggle and out too much difficulty. For a long time I thought that it was really easy to do one ship because there was one clear standout captain for Dominion, and that was Ducat. But I now think you can do 2 ships quite easily. Plus you've always got with Dominion the access to Dominion fighters, which I think are absolutely brilliant. You won't see fighters as much anymore as you used to. Certainly the age of the fighter seems to have become a thing of the past, but there are a lot of options with Dominion, and I know a lot of people, I certainly am, are moving away from Fleet Pure now in a way that they didn't do before, but I think Dominion and Fleet Pure can still do a lot of good. But again, these are completely my own opinions. I quite a small meta that I play in, so I can't really comment on the grand scheme of things, but certainly I would say Dominion are a fleet worth trying in Faction Pure, worth having a go with, and I encourage you all to do it. I'm not Picard.
I'm Joe, and this is Competitor's Corner. Since this is the first segment, it's just an explanation of what this segment will be and what the rules are. What this is I'm going to ask for a ship, a specific ship, and I want you to email me your best 50-point ship that you can do with the name ship. This week is Xindi Weapon 0. I want your best 50-point build. Doesn't have to be faction period, doesn't have to be penalty period, just has to be the best you can make out of that ship. And then, on top of that, I want a 120-point fleet to go with the Xindi Weapon 0, that 50-point ship. So feel free to add a resource, or two other ships, or 3 other ships if you can fit it. Whatever you think you can make the best fleet out of. And then I will playtest the fleets that I receive and pick a winner. And the winner will be, read on air. And so will the top 3. And I'm sure David will be happy to post the builds on Warp Core Breach. So you're probably saying, well, why am I going to email you my best builds? Well, here's the thing. The best build for the segment, so the person who gives me the best Weapon 0 build with the best fleet built around it, I will send an expansion to. One of the regular expansions, probably from Wave 16 out, but we'll discuss it via email. Since, if you ask me for a Voyager, you'll be waiting a very long time for that repaint to come out. So the email will most likely be posted by David on Warp Core Breach, but also the email address is STAW, for Star Trek Attack Wing, corner at gmail.com. So STAWCORNER at gmail.com. And this week is the best 50-point Xindi Weapon 0 with an 120-point fleet built around it. And if you do put a resource, make sure it's a resource that is still active. Thank you. I look forward to seeing your builds.
So again, to recap, that challenge is to build your best 50-point weapon 0. No more than 50 points. Maybe a couple points less if you absolutely want, but the idea here is 50 points of weapon 0, and then a 120 fleet point total, using a resource, or not, your call there. All submissions are due by April 22nd, 2016. I say that just for future sake. So you've got 2 weeks from the release of this podcast. And again, remember you submit those to stawcorner@gmail.com. That's STAWCORNER @gmail.com.
Welcome to the Ready Room. My name's Daniel, and I'll be your host for this segment of the show. Well, it looks like a fleet of enemy ships have set up near the Mataran Nebula, and it's now your time to track them down. So here's the setup to the classical movie's OP1 event, Wrath of Khan. Now, 1/4 of the board is considered to be outside the nebula, and the rest is considered to be in the nebula. A ship that is not inside the Mataran Nebula cannot attack a ship that is in the Mataran Nebula. You cannot target lock ships within the Mataran Nebula. And lastly, you cannot be targeted by any card effect while in the Mataran Nebula from a ship outside of the Mataran Nebula. Now, the rest of the board is considered to be the Mataran Nebula, and it has to follow the specific rules. When inside the Mataran Nebula, a ship must disable all of its shields and discard its cloak token. You cannot raise these shields back up while you're inside. You cannot perform scan, target lock, or cloak actions. And all ships may perform a sensor echo action if they performed a maneuver with 3 or less, even if you are not cloaked and do not have it on your action bar. If a ship performs a maneuver with a speed of 1, you could either use the 1, 2, or 3 straight maneuver templates to perform the sensor echo. If you go a speed of 2, you could use a 1 or 2 straight. If you go a speed of 3, you can only use a 1 straight maneuver template to perform a sensor action, or sensor echo. All ships gain +2 defense dice when in the Mataran Nebula. Ships cannot attack any ships within range 2 to 3, only range 1, and you still get the +1 attack die for your primary weapon. You can fire secondary weapons that say 2 to 3 at range 1, but the attacking ship will sustain damage equal to the damage it inflicts, -1. Your ship cannot take critical damage, however. If the secondary weapon requires a target lock, the other ship rolls +3 defense dice, and you have to discard the secondary weapon. If you overlap an opponent's ship, both ships must roll a number of defense dice, half of their captain's skills, rounded up. Each ship sustains 2 damage to its hull, -1 for every evade dice result. When a ship is destroyed while inside the Mataran Nebula, the attacking player places 1 mission token besides his or her ship card. These mission tokens represent the number of ships a player's ships have destroyed for the end game scoring. At the end of the game, you get +5 fleet points for every mission token, and if you have the most, you get +10 fleet points. This scenario is based on maneuvering. Unless you're going for a straight joust, if you're going into Mataran Nebula, it's going to really take your skill and judgment if when maneuvering action is sensor echo, because you can only attack within range 1. Here are quick do's and don'ts. You definitely do want to take a high durability ship because you will not be having any shields. So that means you probably don't want to take a 2-hull ship. You definitely do want to have a ship with a good firing arc, 180 or 360. The Borg are particularly good in this event because if your opponent can shoot you, you can definitely shoot them back at range 1. And you don't want to take any secondary weapon that you'll have to discard due to the target lock unless it's transphasic torpedoes or you have some strategy like that. You're probably going to want secondary weapons that you just have to disable and undisable without that target lock. One thing that's going to be very important in this event are evade dice and evades. You have no shields. Enhanced hull plating, Tom Paris, all these cards will come in handy. There are 2 main cards that I'd like to bring up. One is lure. Lure is perfect for this event because it's all about maneuvering and outwitting your opponent. Lure will get you the upper hand, and especially if you have an Excelsior class, hopefully they won't be able to sensor echo out of your way. Another card is actually a types of cards. Example, Klingon Boarding Party. All these cards that require their opponent's ships to be disabled in order for you to use are now back in action. You're definitely going to want captains with built-in rerolls or battle stations because they're going to come in particular use in this event since you cannot use any target lock tokens. Then again, in the end, you don't even have to go in the Matara Nebula. You could build a joust fleet just as well. Go straight up because you're only in 1/4 of the board. It's basically like the Year of Hell OP. And just straight up joust your opponent, or just be sneaky. Go into the Matara Nebula, force your opponent to go in with you. So build your fleet around that. In the end, the choice is yours. Because you have the ships, you have the cards, now make it so. I'll see you next time when we search for Spock. End transmission.
And now it's time for the Warp Core Breach Question of the Week, where we pose your questions to all of the contributors in the hopes that someone will get it right. This episode's question of the week: what's your luckiest moment in Star Trek Attack Wing history?
I actually have two sides to answer that one, as people that have come to know me, they know that I tend to have that for just about everything. The out-of-game Star Trek Attack Wing related luckiest moment has to have been when I was sitting on the opposite side of the store than usual with my buddies, getting ready to play just a casual Star Trek Attack Wing night, and just have some fun. All the other tables that we usually use were taken, so we had to go on the other side, which happened to be right near the door. And shortly after we got settled in our new digs, a fellow walks in the door and asks where the Star Trek Attack Wing people are, and says, "Hey, I heard you guys play here. Who wants one of these?" And he's holding up a Gen Con cloaked ship pack, and my hand shoots up immediately. Ooh, I'll take it. And he was only asking $50 Canadian. So that's basically less than what you would have paid in US, which was $40, if you actually were lucky enough to get one at Gen Con that year. Never mind his traveling and bringing it home and all that kind of stuff. So I was like, oh my god, wow. This is just dumb luck. So, I was quite happy. And very lucky. My other luckiest moment in Star Trek Attack Wing pretty much comes down to me rolling better than 2 or less evade dice, because I'm a lucky guy in general, but when it comes to those evade dice, they just seem to have it out for me. So unless I've got lots of rerolls and conversions and that sort of thing, I tend not to do that well when it comes to that side of the defense. So last week, I was playing my buddy Aaron. Actually, sorry, it was the week before last. And I just kept rolling 4 evades. And it's just like, yeah, this is good. So I was very happy with that.
Yeah, those evade dice are fickle. There are times where you'll just go on insane lucks and time where they'll hate you. As evidenced by Goma Dread. Right? It's why I actually hate using evade dice for Goma Dread, because inevitably it seems like whenever somebody uses Goma Dread against me, I just roll 2 blanks.
Oh, I've done that more than once.
So that's an aspect of no luck whatsoever.
If it wasn't for bad luck, you'd have no luck at all.
Yeah. Sometimes. But for me, one of my luckiest moments that I can actually recall, and I've had others, and maybe some of the guys in my play group will actually chime in and say, "Hey, wait, what about this one?" But I'm blanking right now, and I think most of it's my head cold. But there was a tournament I used the essentially the feedback drone, the tactical drone that rolls an attack die when he's attacked.
Mm-hmm.
And I had Magnus Hansen with him, so 1 extra drone. So now he's got 3 uses every game. In 3 games, I got all 3 uses of him, and every single time I used him, he rolled a hit or crit. Now, we're talking about an attack die, 50-50 odds. Still, the odds of 9 straight hits are 1/2 to the 9th power, which is less than 0.2%.
Ooh. May the odds be ever in your favor.
Yeah. That one felt pretty good to look back and say, oh yeah, that happened. That was pretty good.
Nice.
I mean, I have had some other incredible things. There's been times I've needed to roll 3 evades, or else I'm dead on 3 dice, and I roll 3 evades.
Mm-hmm.
And those are memorable things. Or like, I needed my opponent to roll a hit on a damage control team crit so that his ship would blow up, and he did. And those are luck. But some of those come down to law of averages.
Mm-hmm.
But, the ones you remember are like I went 8 rounds with a warp core breach and it never blew up. I don't know that I've had that happen. I think most of my warp core breaches end up exploding on me.
I've had it go a good long while to the point where I won the game without it going off, but I can't recall it being as long as the 8 rounds.
Yeah, I don't remember. I'm throwing out a number.
Yeah. But through the course of your story there, it actually reminded me of my original luckiest story that I forgot to tell. And that's the one where I was playing Cloaked Scimitar with Interphase and counterattack dice. Or counterattack die. And in 3 consecutive rounds, that counterattack die blew up the ship shooting at me in the same game. 1 ship, boom, dead. Next round, boom, killed the next ship. Third round, boom, killed the next ship. With the counterattack dice while defending. Oh.
Wow.
That was exciting.
Yeah. I mean, you're not evading their damage, but they're also not living to see next round. Exactly.
So, and it's not just 3 ships within a game. 3 consecutive rounds, 3 ships go down. That just doesn't happen. But it did. It did.
Yeah, that's got to be one of the luckier strings that I've heard of.
That's for sure. Yeah.
Which is awesome.
I was once told as a child that I apparently was born with horseshoes up my butt because I had luck like no other. Yeah.
All right. So you've heard our thoughts on our luckiest moments. Hear how our contributors have had their luck in an attack wing. Personally, I'm jealous of some of them. When I grow up, I want to have their luck.
Hi, this is Dave Griffin. My luckiest moment in Star Trek Attack Wing. That's kind of hard to say because generally I adopt a playing style that results in fewer attack dice and more quality, so luck plays a lesser role in the game because I have a historical tendency to be very unlucky generally when I'm rolling dice. But I think the luckiest moment that I can remember is when I was playing a homemade mission based on Narendra 3. I had a couple of ships, one of them the Enterprise C and the Enterprise D, and the Klingons had the same number of points as I had, and I managed to get the Enterprise C through the wormhole despite having to sacrifice the Enterprise D and taking out one of the Klingons. And then when the Enterprise C got to the Romulan fight, it found itself outnumbered not by period ships, but by double scimitars in prototype 01. And I still managed to last 5 or 6 turns and take out prototype 01 before I went down. And I couldn't have done that without some serious luck, because I had basically 100 points of Klingons and then 100 points of Romulans in the 2 linked scenarios. It was the sort of thing that should have resulted in my getting killed in the first scenario, or at least coming into the second with a very damaged Enterprise C, but instead it ended up exactly like the on-screen performance of the show, which is something else I really like. So I guess that's what I'd call my luckiest moment. Thanks, and I'll see you next week.
Hello, this is Stephen Stott with Ready to Play Gaming down in Columbia, South Carolina, here to talk about today's question, which is, what was the luckiest experience I've had in stalls so far? Well, I would have to say that happened a couple of years ago when I was still playing up in the Washington, D.C. area. It was just after the Voyager pack was released, and someone was playing me, and of course they had transphasic torpedoes. It was late in the game. We had both had one ship left, and the opponent attacked me with the transphasics and rolled 10 blanks in battle stations and no hits with nothing to modify it, and I survived that attack to turn around and hit them because they only had one hull left, and I had a victory. So that definitely, to me, was my luckiest time so far playing stall. Anyway, this is Stephen Stott with Ready to Play Gaming in Columbia, South Carolina, hoping all your dice rolls are hits and evades. Live long and prosper.
Hey guys, this is Daniel from To the Ready Room, and the most luckiest moment I had in Star Trek Attack Wing. Well, that would probably have to be the 3rd round of Balance of Terror. I was going against Todd with his 3 Romulan warbirds with my Dreadnought Tiny Prize and ISS Defiant. It came down to the last round. No ships have been destroyed. He had 2 tokens, so I believe that was 10 points, and I only had 1 token. Or maybe I didn't have any, but he was up by a token or 2. My Enterprise, or Tiny Prize, was my big hitter, and it had a high captain skill, and my ISS Defiant was just an average hitter, and it had a low captain skill. All of his ships had interface generator, except for his Vo, or the science vessel, and it had Varel. Minor damage on most ships. When it was time for my Enterprise to shoot, I spent most of the time thinking whether to shoot his science vessel with Varel or shoot his Romulan warbird with interface generator. Either way, one attack would be cancelled. I came to the conclusion to shoot at the bird of prey because it had some damage on it, and the interface, he had to burn his interface generator, add on 1 more damage. Then it came down to my ISS Defiant against his warbird. I rolled 2 hits, enough to blow him up. All he had to roll was 1 evade dice in order to survive. Boom. With the rolled, I managed to blow it up and win the game. In time, we were overtime by a bit. And I believe that was the luckiest moment I had in Star Trek Attack Wing. I'll see you next time.
Hi everyone, Not Picard here. My luckiest moment in Attack Wing, probably during Resistance's Futile 3. Now, if you remember Resistance Futile 3, half of the board was considered Borg space, and if you went into Borg space, you suffered an attack during the activation phase that would damage you. The size of your hull dictated how large the damage would be, and I was playing a guy who'd done an NX-01 designed specifically to stay in Borg space the whole game, and I had a scimitar that was floating around outside Borg space, refusing to go in because I didn't want to take the attack and not benefit from the cloaking bonus because it was happening during the activation phase. And for about 6 turns in a row, I was rolling dice to try and kill this NX-01 so I could win the game, and it wasn't going particularly well. What I eventually managed to do was I rolled the 4 dice that you got against the NX-01, and it was 2 hits and 2 crits, and then he rolled his defense dice and his various things that he had to avoid those particular hits, and he wasn't successful, and so the ship died. I think if it had been any other ship in any other circumstance, I wouldn't consider it to be the luckiest moment, but because of those scenario rules and the way that scenario was played, that ended up being my luckiest moment in Star Trek Attack Wing. Thanks for listening.
Hello there, Bob Bateman here. My luckiest moment was at Nationals 2015. It ended up being the final turn of the game when we were playing in the asteroid field scenario, or the asteroid storm. I was playing against a hyper-maneuverable Borg list, and I had 3 constitutions and 3 sets of fighters. As it turned out at the end, just before we rolled for the asteroid storm, my opponent had 1 hit point left on his sphere. I had 1 set of fighters on its last peg, so 1 shield, 1 hit, and a Constitution class ship with 1 hull point left. The asteroid storm hit everything, killing his Borg ship, killing my Constitution, and leaving me with 1 fighter with 1 hit point. That was pretty much as close as it could get. So yeah, it was a lot of fun, and it was pretty tricky, but it was a good fun game, and yeah, that's all I could think of.
Greetings, Warp Core Breach listeners. This is Bane of Borg with episode 31. What has been my luckiest moment in Star Trek Attack Wing? Well, I'm going to take you back to month 3 of the collective Battle of Sector 001. I want to tell you about my luckiest moment. If you recall, those of you who played this, you had the Battle of the Borg. It was a cooperative, competitive mission. Borg cube comes out at you. You have to blow it up, and when it blows up, it launches a sphere, and you have to blow it up before it races off the board. So my first game in this OP, I played a dastardly Romulan player using, I believe, cloak scimitars or something, and that was back before the Worf ruling with the Borg and the 350 rule, so you could build big ships, dreadnoughts, and I had a cube with Wayne Burrell attack cancellation, and I don't remember what else, but with that cube, I was able to make the Borg attack me and cancel it, and then I could pummel that Borg. So I was fighting this Borg cube, and my Romulan scimitar cloaked buddy back there was just floating around, and when I got to the cube, down to maybe 3 or 4 hull, he swoops in with the scimitars and blows it up, and then he cloaks and runs and hides, and I lose. We time out, and I lose on points. So I wasn't going to let that happen again. The next game I played Klingons, 3 ships with a flagship with Martog on it, and so I went in after that ship, and with my souped up super cube, took that Martog Klingon out, which was basically rendered his fleet pretty impotent. Then I went after the cube and blew it up, and I won that game on points. Finally, the last game, and I believe it was going to come down to whether I would win this game or not to be able to win the OP. I played a Federation player who was playing a souped-up Voyager, and I don't remember what else, but I was careful, and he was very cautious being Federation. So I was putting everything I could into destroying this Borg, and I got it down, and I thought I was going to kill it on the next turn. And I rolled a bunch of blanks, and I think I had a target lock, and I re-rolled a bunch more blanks. And lo and behold, this thing has maybe 3 hull left. Well, he swoops in with his Voyager and hits it. And he has a bad roll too. And he's looking at it saying, well, it's down to 1. I guess I didn't kill it. I didn't say anything. So I was able to finish that cube off, get the points. We timed out. I won on points. I didn't tell him at the time. He still had a target lock on that cube, which he could have then re-rolled his misses and probably would have got 1 more damage, and then he would have won the OP because we were getting close to time. So that was my quote-unquote luckiest moment. Often I'll tell a player if they made a mistake or misplayed something, but when it came down to crunch time, when it was going to be whether he wins or loses, and whether I was going to win or lose, I wasn't going to point out the fact that, well, wait a minute, you could re-roll your misses or your blanks or your battle stations, whatever. So that was my luckiest moment. I ended up winning that OP, winning the prize ship, and had a great time and learned a little bit about fighting Romulans. So again, this is episode 31 for Bane of Borg, signing off. Thank you.
Hey players, my luckiest moment, well, I've had any number of lucky critical draw moments, but there's one mathematically lucky moment that I remember. It was during a play of the collective OP3, Battle of Sector 001. It was my opponent's turn to attack with the cube, and he attacked one of my ships and scored 5 damage. And I don't remember exactly how much health the ship had, but he threw enough to destroy it, and it was cloaked. So I had 6 evade dice to roll. Shook them, rolled them, and got 6 natural evades. Jaws were dropped, pictures were taken, and the calculation was made that there's only a 0.02% chance of getting that roll. I think the math backs that being lucky.
Well, this is why we talk about luck, because This is a game of luck. Weird things can happen. But ultimately, Star Trek Attack Wing tells stories.
Yes.
And if it weren't for moments and stories, it wouldn't be worth playing.
Mm-hmm. That's actually something someone brought up during the Doomsday Machine OP last week, is that a friend of mine who often plays X-Wing said that one of the things he really likes about Star Trek is that it has a story. It's like, it's an adventure. It's something that you're going through each time. It's not just the same old thing over and over again. At least there's something. And in my opinion, the OPs are getting more interesting, more engaging. So I'm enjoying them.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you.
I'm more excited about playing upcoming OPs because of this.
I'm also with you there, because the Klingon Civil War is something that we didn't see a ton of on screen. We kind of saw the start of it and the end of it.
Yeah, so it'd be nice for us to play out our own versions of it on the table. So does that mean we're going to get Kimpek, the fat Klingon?
Quite possibly.
Or, as he was called, Kimpek, you're old and fat. And he took it well. I think that was what, the IKS Kamchi, I think was his ship.
Sounds right.
Yeah, which I believe was a Vorcha class, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, that it absolutely was.
Yes. So it would be nice to see that as one of the prizes. But given the proliferance of Klingon ships and prizes in the past year that have been Klingon, it would be nice to see some non-Klingon prize ship packs in those OPs. I think that would be a great opportunity to get a Romulan ship with Commander Sela.
Yeah.
I think it would be the perfect time.
And don't shoot me. What about a mid-season TNG Enterprise D pack?
Ooh, sit phasers to stun. I'm okay with that. I think that would be a great way to revitalize the Galaxy-class ships, would be to give it a better Enterprise D. Granted, there's still a lot of people that love the Enterprise D as it is, but I find it's a bit lacking, especially given that it's Federation ship with no tech.
Right, so now we could get it with tech.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even a 5th attack die.
That would be nice. It would likely be in the form of an ability that adds a +1 to the attack die.
Oh, probably.
They probably don't want to mess with the whole point-based thing. But then again, as many people will say, until the end of time or until we get it, Enterprise D+. Future Enterprise D, the enhanced, the modified, whatever you want to call it, the refit. The future Enterprise we want. I know I want it.
No, that thing needs a 6th attack die.
Yes, that would be very appropriate.
If not a 7th.
Mm-hmm.
But, balance.
I could see it having a maneuver dial not unlike Voyager, maybe with some red thrown in.
Yeah. It is still a Galaxy frame.
Agreed, but it would likely have to be a mirror ship or a mixed, like a dual faction mirror fed. I think that's the perfect opportunity for a Federation mirror crossover there. Because you could still give it a new dial, because remember, it has the extra nacelle, so it's not the same class,
right?
Technically.
It needs to be a new class.
It would be like a Galaxy refit.
Yeah.
Like, that would be the perfect class name for it. Galaxy Refit class, or something to that effect.
Yeah.
Warp core breach
but anyway,
in 10.
that topic has been discussed
9,
to death in so many
8,
different forums. We've even brought it up a
7,
couple of times, but
6,
gotta share my love for
5,
it.
So until next
4,
time.
This is Nick.
3,
and this is David.
2,
Ejecting the
1.
core.
Warp core ejected.
Warp Core Breach is produced by Nick Norris and David Montgomery, with additional content from our contributors. Our computer is voiced by Corinne Donnelly.
Warp Core Breach is not endorsed, sponsored, or affiliated with CBS Studios Incorporated or the Star Trek franchise. All Star Trek trademarks and logos are owned by CBS Studios Incorporated.
All sound files are used under Creative Commons 3.0 by attribution. For specifics, please visit our Facebook page by searching Warp Core Breach Podcast. If you want to contribute to the show, let us know on the Facebook page, or you can email us at warpcorebreachpodcast@gmail.com.
Oh, the bubonic plague.
Is that curable?
Yes, actually it is.
It is? Oh, then
Yeah.
I'd rather have that.
Oh.
If it's curable, I want it. Wait a minute.
The mortality rate's pretty high. But one way or another, you don't have it after a while.
Yeah.
Hey, that may be our blooper.